What's up, party people? I guess I'm serial posting YouTube videos to make up for the lack of YouTube videos I've been not posting over the last year due to grad school and work and other commitments. Anyway, the other thing is that my backyard looks like a construction site. It's like a permaculture hoarding materials construction site. So here's my ephemeral weeds. Don't mind me, it's, you know, pajama Sunday. Let's start with this mulberry tree. This is a volunteer mulberry tree that came from this mulberry tree that you can see right back here. And the neighbors kind of, you see how it's close to the fence over there by the blue tarp. Been fighting with the neighbors about it a little bit. So when this mulberry tree popped up, I kind of decided to make it my personal little project. So I pruned it. I have no idea what I did. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had some guiding principles, and let me tell you what they are. I have to stop underselling myself. So basically, I cut the leader. I could have cut it down further if I wanted to. I could have cut it down here, but I decided to cut it up there because I did get a little bit of fruit off of it last year, so I know that I guess it's a female. Again, it's an unnamed wild mulberry variety. Maybe I'll graft on it this year, we'll see. Gonna play around a little bit. But so I topped off the leader because I wanted to keep this one at a manageable size. If you look here at my neighbors, they have a giant tree that's, this mulberry is an understory, but since they grow so fast, I felt I had to be aggressive with it. I cut out anything that was looked like a water spout, so anything that was shooting straight up I cut out. Any branches that were crossing, I was trying to go in for some sort of a vase shape. So if you see the branches are kind of, they don't have narrow crotch angles. And then I tried to cut off some of the stuff on the bottom because I wanted it more in a tree form and not like a bush, because it gets hard to mow around it and to do things to maintain the property. We only are on 0.22 acres, so I am kind of at a premium for space. And the other thing, like I said, I took out any branches that crisscrossed, and I thinned out some of the branches. So for example, for some reason they grow 1, 2, 3. So if there was 3 on one side close together, I cut out the middle one. Right here, there was 1, 2, 3. So I cut out this one because again, I want to make sure that it has plenty of airspace. Not that mulberries, anything really happens to them, I don't think here, especially this is a wild mulberry, but they're pretty weedy. But again, this is my attempt. This is, I think, a third year mulberry. I think when we got here, it was like a tiny sapling. I think it might have been a year old. It was just like a stick in the ground. And then I noticed it was a mulberry, so I left it there. And so now, I think, again, we moved here a year and a half ago. So I think it's about maybe 2-3 years old. So yeah, this might be my grafting mulberry experiment, but we'll see. Just trying to maintain it somehow. This is my crabapple tree. It's a hot mess. You can see all of the suckers. Lots of people have told me just to get rid of it, but we don't really have the cash to get the machinery to take it out. It's a really old tree. Probably been here since '91 when they built the house. So I wasn't thinking that I'm trying to dig it up. So again, like the mulberry, I think I'm gonna practice my grafting skills on this tree. I have a bunch of scion wood that I ordered last year, but again, with all my commitments, I was not able, and just moving in the house a few months before, I didn't have the ability to work on it. So I kept the scions in damp conditions in the refrigerator. I don't know what they look like. I'm kind of scared to take them out, but it was a decent amount of scions. I think I ordered 30 of them between the pear tree, the mulberry tree, and the apple tree. Some people have asked me if I can use these suckers as rootstock. Last year I tried to dig in there and I did not see roots. They just were all attached to the main tree. So, I mean, I guess I could propagate them. I mean, look at all the water spouts on here. one, two, like this whole tree is full of water sprouts. That one's dead. But anyway, I think what I'm gonna do is, when I first moved here, this thing was humongous. So if you look here, there was a big branch that I cut out. It like arched all the way almost to the neighbors. Like it was not balanced looking. It was not taken care of for like 6 years. So it was super overgrown. So this is kind of again, this is just ornamental crabapple. It makes like pinkish reddish flowers, and the fruits on it are like a 1/4 inch in diameter. Like the birds eat them, but they're not really for human consumption. There's like, I barely even see them when they're ripe, and they're just gone. But anyway, every year I just kind of go through, mow down the suckers or cut them down. But like I said, this year I think I'm gonna aggressively graft it. So instead of cutting back, like cutting a few branches off and then cutting them back like 2, 3, 4 feet, I think I'm really gonna go in and just be like chop, 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 chop. And not get it down to a stump, but just leave it that basic framework that you see. So like this one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then leave that, and then leave that, and then like leave whatever, anything that's over, I guess, like 2 inches, I probably will leave a little stump to graft to. I doubt the tree will die. Again, it's got a pretty luxurious root system, I'm assuming, from being here for so long. So I'm not too concerned about it. So, and the scions have been in the fridge for a year. So whatever happens with this tree happens. Like the worst case scenario is it dies, and then I can finally dig it up and put something else there. Actually, the reason why I wanted to shoot this was because it's raining today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about successes and failures. I hate talking about failure. Failure sucks. Like nobody wants failure. It's just not fun to realize like you did something wrong, and maybe it was something that you knew and you kind of thought that it wouldn't happen to you, or maybe it's something you didn't know and then you found out, or maybe you found out later after you did it and you couldn't fix it. Like whatever the reason, like regardless, it sucks. So let's talk a little bit about the way the land is. Sorry, I'm like, don't know where I'm going. All right, so if you can see from here, we have a slope that slopes down here. There's the storm drain. I think technically that's the neighbor's property, but all of the water from this backyard 2, that backyard 3, that one diagonally 4, and this backyard 5, all 5 of these backyards drain into this storm drain. So 2 things. Awesome water harvesting potential. There's a lot of water that's running off into the drain, the storm drain. And my property here, like again, it's a mess. I apologize, but I'm gonna show it to you for posterity, because it's not gonna look like this forever. And there's like the leaf graveyard, but whatever. If we look, when we first moved here, like this whole area is a swamp. So this is the area that I'm covering with wood chips because A, I want to improve the soil so I can grow stuff, to grow a food forest. B, I would like to prevent runoff, so the wood chips will help sequester some of the water and provide mulch. C, it will reduce the weeds so I don't have to mow this area because I fucking hate mowing. All right, so next thing. You can see I'm in North Carolina. We have beautiful red clay. This is not a real pond. This is, well, it is a real pond and it's not a real pond. It's just here. So it's just clay holding this up, and it'll stay like this for a few days, and especially in the winter. There's nothing lining it. It's like the clay holds the water and that's it. You can see the clay right here. Let's see. So if we look, all right, let me just tell you the story about how I started. So when I first started, I started laying in cardboard compost, municipal compost from the county, and wood chips. So if you look over here, you'll see there's some nice brown dirt. That's compost, more brown soggy dirt. This had wood chips. A lot of the wood chips ended up washing down to the storm drain. I did not like that because I spent a lot of time and energy doing that, and I was like, had to figure out a way to prevent things from getting washed out. So now if you look, I'm gonna peek over to the neighbor's side. They have a huge river. So as I was watching the rain come down, their river runs all down the fence line, if you can kind of see. So mine is kind of looking like it's staying in a little bit, but theirs was rushing. So mine was collecting, theirs was a river. Mine used to be a river. Here it got a little rivery. And again, here it's like sopping wet. Again, the clay with the compost and the dirt on top and the weeds. Everything was coming down on their side. You can see now there's still water running down there. There's movement. There's no water moving here. This water is pretty still. Oh, it's moving a little bit, but not at the rate that that water is moving. This water is moving to here. So let me bring it to the other side. This is my new genius idea. First I was gonna build a swale, but then because the mulberry tree is here, if I built a swale, it would be hard to dig with all the roots for the tree roots. So that's number one. And number two is that because of the shade from the tree, I would only be relegated to planting things that could grow in the shade. So between the shade and the roots, I was like, is it worth it to try to have a swale? I don't know. So then I came up with this idea. I took some rebar and I took some logs that I had laying around, because again, I just hoard carbon. And I just made a temporary, oh my God, I cannot think today at all, terrace. And so because I'm trying to dig out that pond that you saw back there, now I have a place to dump the dirt, and the dirt is collecting the water, so it's kind of acting as a water collection area situation. So it's not a swale, but it is collecting water. And again, if we look over here, you can see the water collecting here, and you can see it's coming from here. And if we look here, there's the point of where it's going down, is right there. So it's all, oh, there it is. It's actually coming around the backside. So it's coming around the backside from the neighbor's property and then entering the storm drain from the right side. And again, there's no water coming down here. Okay, there's a slight river you can see if you look up this way. So there was some runoff from that side of the property, but it's, again, nothing compared to the river that's coming from also, look, the neighbors. I'm like trying to peek over. Yeah. So look, they have a river coming through the back of their property also. Let's see. I can't see how far it runs, but again, their property is also on a hill, so they're losing a lot of water because they have not made any measures to try to collect it. So this is the first time that it's rained like a lot since I put in the terrace. I'm so fucking excited. This is like really what I was trying to accomplish, was at least collecting some water. So not having my materials run off into the storm drain and not losing all the water that, you know, is here is exciting. So again, apologies for the big mess. It's a work in progress. This is mulberry trimmings that I just trimmed from the big mulberry tree here. So I'm gonna look up YouTube videos of how to collect scion wood and see if I can stick them in a propagation area and get them to root. And if I can get them to make rootstock, then maybe I can graft the Pakistani mulberries that everybody is so excited about onto them. And since they're native and they're pretty non-destructive, indestructible, again, I don't know what I'm saying today, I think that might be nice to have some rootstock. So these are some grow bags that I purchased from, I don't know, maybe I'll link it below. But it was a website that sells like all the grow bags in California. And they're really affordable and I got some compost mixed with potting soil for these. And I made these last year, and then I never filled them because, again, I don't know what I was doing. So this year what I'm gonna do is I've got some strawberries that I showed in the other video. So these were the grow beds I was talking about. I'm gonna put them in here when they dry out a little bit because now they're sopping wet from the storm. And I need more cardboard. I feel like more cardboard, more wood chips is like a war cry for permies. But yeah, so this needs more cardboard. Once I get some more wood chips layered in here, I think it's gonna prevent a lot of the runoff. I mean, some of it will be running off under the cardboard, but once the worms get through it and like after a couple of years, it's gonna really affect the soil in a positive way. I just put up these cattle panels. So again, if you look at the neighbor's house, the neighbor is on top of the hill. And so they see everything in my house and it's annoying. So I raised the fence up another foot and I'm planning on seeing if I can grow some stuff there that's vining, like tomatoes or peas or beans or vining nasturtiums or I don't care, morning glories, sunflowers, whatever will prevent the neighbors from seeing my face. And then their pit bull, Kilo, won't have to be barking at me. Well, he can bark at me, but he won't have to make eye contact with me. And I think the mulberry tree will fill in over here, so it won't be. And when the summer comes or when the spring comes, there'll be more cover. But so yeah, so I put in these 1 and 2 cattle panels, and then this middle section, I have another one here that I'm probably gonna move, but I need to get more T-posts. Again, this whole back area here, if you see, is gonna be wood chips, wood chips, wood chips, wood chips, wood chips. Probably a few more grow bags. I need to get more compost and potting soil for those, so I'll bring those in. That was our swale A-frame, our contour A-frame rig, but it's a little rough now. But yeah, so here's the compost. And again, when I walk on here, that's nice and firm. It's not soggy at all. It's amazing. I'm not sinking. And then when we get to here, it's like the muck. So this is like a big hole. But yeah. Unfortunately, I was going to do wood chips yesterday, but then I ended up finding 50 bags of leaves. Thank you, Karen. So I got the 50 bags of leaves, and now they're here. And so once I finish filling in all the wood chips back here up to where the terracing is, then I'm gonna lay down all the wood, how do you call it? Leaves. So this is my composting area. Oh, and then again, this is where the pond is gonna be. I'm probably gonna get a pond liner. I don't know. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll turn it into a rain garden, but I'm really not sure yet. I am gonna dig it out though. There's gonna be digging involved. Speaking of failure, this area has been like the bane of my existence. I was so excited. I layered it with straw, I layered it with wood chips and cardboard and suppressed the weeds, and I had Kingstrophoria mushrooms inoculated in here, and I think a week ago I found like 2 1/4 centimeter mushrooms that look like they might be Kingstrophoria. And after a year, like I think like that was the harvest. So I don't know if there's still, I mean, I'm assuming there's mycelium still in there, but now there's not enough substrate for it to kind of like do its thing. It's January 31st, so I do have time. You can see some of the straw there. So it's really not warm enough for Kingstrophoria, but again, I saw mushrooms that looked like they were wine caps, so I'm a little confused. Oh, you can see here the runoff from where the neighbors, the other neighbor's stuff is coming down. So again, they have, I'm not going in here because I don't want to compress the mushroom area, but if you look through that hole, that's, if I can see up there, those neighbors have a river too. So again, more substrate in here for the mycelium to develop, hopefully when it gets warmer. Here's my compost pile. I mowed over leaves and grass. So if you see, I got some compost going here. I am working on getting pallets and getting like a proper 2-bay composting system, and then maybe if I feel like it, I'll make a 3rd bay, but I think 6 pallets for now is fine. I got some rocks for the pond, so those are ready to go once I'm ready to build the pond. I have some straw that I'm hoarding again for the mushrooms, another compost tumbler which I haven't started using yet. These are flag irises. They're pretty weedy. I can't decide if I'm going to keep them or not. But again, this is kind of like the hot mess of my backyard. If you look here, this is a pond that's broken. And then I just put some alfalfa in here since it's raining and I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit. Needs some more water. But just rehydrating alfalfa to use as a fertilizer, because seems to be the popular thing on YouTube this year. I mean, I know tons of people know about it, but I didn't, and now all these videos keep popping up. So there's that. This was a big pile of dirt from when my husband dug out the fire pit, and then he left it there and it was like dirt and weeds, so I ended up moving all of that pile that was here to the terrace, and then I overseeded it with, if you can see, clover, crimson clover, and Dutch clover, white Dutch clover. So you can see they're sprouting, they have little tails. I'm hoping they'll hold on. I might put some straw on top of them. Again, it's been so warm. We've got kale. I got Swiss chard. These beds have been kind of neglected. So I'm gonna have to get in here and move some stuff around. But you can see the crabgrass. Oh, speaking of failure again, the crabgrass is like a huge issue. I think it's crabgrass. It might be something, it might be Bermuda grass, but I don't know. But whatever it is, it's on a runner. It takes over all the beds and it's horrible. So I'm gonna have to figure out, I noticed in the front that if you plant densely, it stops growing because it needs sun. So it gets shaded out and it doesn't like that. This is a pomegranate. This is some comfrey that I'm gonna be using for chop and drop. Probably divide it again this year. So I try to keep a comfrey at least next to every tree or bush or anything that's like feeding heavily. The other pomegranate. And again, last year was my first year here. I installed the PVC with the idea of making like a cold frame. And then I did do that for a little while, but I don't know if I like it or need it. But this is basically rebar, and then 6-inch, or they're like a foot rebars that you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, and then you just bend that PVC over them. Again, I love the idea of permaculture and using curves and making it organic looking, but when you're trying to put PVC over a caterpillar tunnel, it's really annoying. So I might have to like sew or tape up something that's more engineered for this particular bed. But again, it's been so warm. This stuff is fine without it. I mean, the comfrey is still green, and whatever's died here is feeding the earth anyway, so I'm not concerned. These are some sort of weird bunching onions. Someone told me they're not potato onions. I don't know what they are. They don't have, like the onion bulbs like the potato onions do, and then I don't know what this is. So if you know what it is, I think it might be garlic or alliums or who knows. I know this is Spiderwort, which is a native, so that's good for the pollinators. This pear tree is a hot mess. I really don't know what I'm doing with it. If anyone has suggestions on what I can do with this tree, it's like, please tell me. I know it needs to be staked. It's so lopsided. It should be like this. And it's like produced 1 pear last year and the rest of them dropped. It was not happy. And this is an elderberry which needs to be pruned. It was pretty not happy last year, so I don't really know about it. But it is sprouting already. If you look, it's got buds on it. We even have brand new growth right there. So again, so warm here. That's a butterfly bush. I just leave it there to like try to camouflage all the stuff that's back here. This lavender looks like it's died back, but there is some that seems like it's still alive. This little bunch there. I'm not going to touch it because the fire ants took over the herb spiral, but rosemary's kicking. Got some blueberry bushes to plant, some rose of Sharon to plant. I have some lilacs to plant. Some bulbs here. This is a gorgeous coral rose that we had on the property. Here's my new composting station. So I couldn't figure out where to put the composting station, so now it's right next to the door. This might be not beneficial in the summertime, but honestly, like, I need it to be where I can access it and not walk across the property. So this is for like kitchen scraps. I can show you what I have in here. Okay, so here's the leaf bin. So I always have browns, so I'm excited about that. And then if you look in here, I have some leaves, which I know if I would have chopped them up would have been better. They would go faster. But I know when the summer comes and this thing heats up, this thing's gonna be cranking. But I don't know if it's too moist or there's not enough nitrogen. I was thinking of putting some coffee grounds in there. Maybe some urine, I don't know. Like, it needs something. But it's got kitchen scraps, it's got, I don't know. This is my potting mix. I put it out in the rain, but it didn't really get wet. But it needs to moisten up for my winter sowing jugs because I'm gonna do a lot of herbs and flowers that way. And then this is all dead mint, but that will come back. And if you see underplanted is some bulbs, so I think those are probably daffodils. Pineapple mint. This was lemon verbena, I think, or pineapple sage. I think I had both of them in there. Some more bulbs coming up. So I mean, for us, it's like springtime, even though it's January. Busted rain barrel, thanks Lino. But honestly, it does hold some water, so I'll take it. This little barbecue area, but needs to be tidied up. So I'm gonna avoid the really, really messy parts, so I'll go fast. All right, so now we're on the other side of the herb bed. And this hyssop, volunteer thistle, which I didn't ask for, parsley, yarrow, lime balm. These are some hollies that I need to get rid of. So Lino, if you're watching, this is the project of getting rid of these stupid bushes. I mean, I guess they're good for the birds, but they're not good for me. I'd rather plant them with something that's beneficial for both of us. But in here we have asparagus. I got a couple blueberry bushes. This is the, if you look down here, this is the, oh my God, how come I can't speak today? The hedgerow, So it's full of medicinal and edible plants, shrubs. I got most of the shrubs in that I want here, and so now I'm working on the underplanting and the infrastructure. So if you see all the T-posts that I drove in yesterday, that's for all the raspberries and the blackberries that are in here. And I think I have boysenberries also. But yeah, more comfrey. That's a cut plant, that's a native. Mayhaw, native, and medicinal and edible. Some random Swiss chard. So the berries have been like going crazy, and I did not make a trellis for them last year. So if you see, there's like 20-foot, let me show you, 20-foot pieces going all down the length of the hedgerow, and they have nowhere to go. And they're rooting everywhere, and they're gonna attack the neighbor's stuff, and they're gonna like go into the path, which, let's not talk about this water situation, but anyway. Elderberry. This one stayed green all winter for some reason. I think we're in a microclimate. Chickasaw plum. Witch hazel. Again, more berries here. And then another thing is like this mulch really ended up getting crusted. If you look at it, it breaks off in big chunks. So it's not really decomposing that well. I'm hoping that the alfalfa, when I sprinkle it on top, is gonna help with breaking down some of the wood chips because that added nitrogen. More comfrey, more comfrey. and love my witch hazel flowers. Like, it literally only has these flowers on the whole plant. I feel like it's been struggling a few years, but maybe this year will be good. It's only the second year, so. First they sleep, then they creep, then they leap, right? Here's a blackberry. I love how the leaves turn this beautiful orange or deep burgundy. And then this is a beautyberry, which is a native to North Carolina. And then some lamb's ear, you know, in case we run out of toilet paper again. Just kidding, I have a bidet. Let's see, we have, here's a hazelnut. You can't see it, it's a baby. There it is. And then here's a fig tree. This is getting to like the really messy area where the wood chips are, and like this whole area was covered with crabgrass. So I'm really trying my best to make it not cover with crabgrass. Then I have, I think it's a lilac. I figured I would put it here in the front. This was like a mixed bed. It has some bulbs in it and some perennials. So I think there's a penstemon, which is a native. Looks like there was an aster in here and a daisy, and there's some more spiderwort. Here's an aronia, so that's exciting, that's edible. Right there in the middle, if you can see, is a fringe tree. Sorry, this video is taking forever. Fringe tree and the giant mulch pile that my neighbors hate me for, but it has to be done, and I just cannot work that fast by myself. And then we get to the front yard. Oh, let's get to the mailbox first. In the mailbox, I have some various things that I tried to make the place look nice. So I think I had coneflower, I think I had, and I forgot what everything is, but this one was nice. Whatever this is, it was pretty cool. Is there anything in there that tells me what it is? Well, if you can recognize it, it's cool. It stayed green all winter. It had beautiful flowers on it all summer, and it was like really easy to take care of, and it's a perennial. Here I have Yaupon holly, more lamb's ear. This mound here and the mound that you saw, that weird bed there, those were Radford pears at one point, and I took it upon myself to get those cut down. And so part of the reason why there's these big mounds there is because I was trying to squash the roots from coming back. So I did get the stumps ground, but unfortunately, like, the roots on those suckers for 30-year trees are like, that thing does not want to die. So there's constantly saplings coming up, suckers of Bradford pear, which I definitely do not want. There's some chrysanthemums in here that I took some of the debris out. Yarrow, there was some natives in here. This is gonna have a nice white arbor on top, so to make it look a little more formal, because again, the neighbors were like, why did somebody leave the wood stumps there? I'm like, no, I left them there on purpose. They're like, why? I'm like, because I think it looks nice. This is the path again, covered with crabgrass or whatever weed that is. So this needs to be addressed in here, all the crabgrassiness. This I had planted over like with perennials that I got at a perennial sale. And I covered them all with leaves, because again, crabgrass or weeds, whatever. So if you can see on the edges, some of the perennials are popping back up. I don't intend to keep them at a 6-inch distance, but to fill in, to get rid of the weeds, I was hoping this year they'll really come back with a vengeance. So we'll see what happens. Rosemary is like so happy here, so I'm really happy about that. I can have like rosemary skewers for the barbecue, and it smells delicious. This is Rigosa Rose, which is medicinal and beautiful and has really nice smelling flowers, and it's pretty abundant and easy to take care of. It's not a hybrid rose. It's grown on its own rootstock, so pretty easy to take care of. Needs some pruning, but for some reason I couldn't get any hips off of it. They all turned black and shriveled up. So again, this is only second year. It could be disease, it could be frost, it could be bugs, I don't know, but we'll have to see. This is an apple tree that I planted. We'll see. I literally just planted it like 2 weeks ago. This probably has to go because it's crossing, but again, I might graft onto it, we'll see. And then I had these towers that were covered with morning glories last year, and I forgot to take the morning glories off before they flowered and like set seeds, so I'm gonna have like 1,000 morning glories popping up. Here's a spruce tree, which is like, I don't think it's very happy, but it's there. And then this is mountain mint. And you can see all of the growth from last year has pretty much died back, but if you look in here, like, ooh, it's spreading. So I'm trying to decide. I mean, these are all gonna get weed whacked pretty much when we do the trimming to try to make the place look neat. But I'll probably dig up some and like do them in plant trades and stuff. Mountain mint is native to North Carolina, and this thing is like a pollinator hotel. It's like every kind of pollinator you'll find on it when it's growing the flowers. It's crazy. And it can be like 6 feet. It's crazy. This is the foundation plantings, which I hate, but I decided I'm not gonna get rid of them just yet because I don't know what to plant there. So if you guys have any idea of like edible, evergreen, medicinal, like anything that would be not like useless plants for foundation planting, that would be great. That's a white azalea, boxwood. That's a pink azalea, and that's some pencil holly, or who knows what that is. And then I think that's, oh yeah, the other water issue. So when we first moved here, we had somebody taking care of all of the construction because it was a foreclosure and we needed to have a contractor. And so he's like, yeah, we'll put in a storm drain. And my husband's like, it's not gonna work. And I was like, well, we don't have a choice. Like, we just have to get it done because you're not digging a ditch and I'm not digging a ditch. So there's the storm drain. You can see it's very effective. So what I did do at one point was I dug out a trench, which is currently not trenched right now. I do have to kind of address that. You can see the water's moving as I'm taking it, like it's starting to kind of go down there. But I had made a trench, and at least it would backfill up to here and it would kind of soak in a little bit. It's not great. And then the other thing is, if you look on the other side of the driveway, the neighbors told us that the driveway has always been like this ever since like the house was built. This side of the driveway also gets a lot of water. So I had built another trench on this side, which is kind of backfilled right now with wood chips, but that's where you see this trench here going down, and then that water has been going down there. So again, it's not optimal, but it's really annoying to come out of your house on a rainy day and step into a giant puddle as soon as you walk out. So this situation is terrible. Like every time you walk to the car, you're like, if you don't have rain boots on, you're hopping and jumping and doing weird things to avoid getting your feet wet. So I guess this year I'll kind of, one of the options was to look at the storm drain and figure out where it ends and then dig it out and make like a dry bed at the end of it so that it's open. But then again, when you have an open drain like that, then you can have rodents going in unless I put a screen on it. So that might pose some other issues. And then also it's not marked where they put it. I thought about putting like a magnet or something strong in there and then being able to like find it in the ground through a magnet, but I don't know if that's feasible. So we don't know where the end of the storm drain is, so in order to find it, we would have to do a lot of digging. But that is pretty much the property. I'll just show you the last thing. Let's see. This is like the other holly tree that I killed in like poison ivy area. I guess the last part is, this is Maximilian sunflowers. Again, great pollinator, native, comfrey. I think what I'm gonna do here is put cattle panel, because I think I'm gonna try to grow some stuff on the wall, because I just realized like I could be growing vertical here and I'm not. So the Maximilian sunflowers like really take up a lot of space and they spread. So those are really good for trades. I think the tubers are edible, but they make kind of like these weird fat stalks under, like they're not tubers like a potato. I don't know, they might not even be Maximilian sunflowers, but I think they are. They could be Jerusalem artichokes, or who knows. I never label anything. But anyway, I digress. So this is gonna be a cattle panel up here. And then I'm gonna extend this bed down. I had mixed ideas of like, because of all the utilities, but honestly, like people don't really come here, and if they have to step in the beds in order to access the utilities a couple times a year, or like once a year or whatever it is, once every couple of years, fine. So I'm gonna extend this bed down to the chimney. Chimney's not functional, so I'm gonna make a bed here. And then this bed is going to have some beans or something that's going to cover this arch. And I'm gonna make a gate here on the arch just to make it a little formal. And I hate the fact that the backyard is so open. So that's gonna be kind of closed. I can get through with the lawnmower and everything once the door is open. I found these really cool spiral hinges that you can use to make doors on cattle panels. So I'm gonna try those out. I think it's from like Premier One website. So yeah, so this is gonna get turned into a bed. This is all gonna be a bed here. So now I'm looking at like 8 more feet of growing space. So that's nice. And I got some logs yesterday with the leaves. So, and my other dream is like training hops to go on the chimney. So stay tuned for that. So far I have not been able to keep hops alive. If you look here, wait, was this the hops? That's not the hops. This is the hops. If you look here, this is hops. Oops. Oh, it looks alive. We have liftoff. So I think I'm gonna try and get the hops in here. And again, I found these like clips that you can clip onto the bricks that you don't have to, or I can do something up there. I don't know, we'll see. But again, the chimney's not functional at this point. We're not planning on making it functional anytime soon. So while I'm here, I might as well see if I can train hops on here and whatever. Just fun experiments. And then here's my fancy kale. So this is my 2nd year kale, which I'm so happy with because it's one step closer to being acclimated to our climate, being special North Carolina kale. And yeah, that's my tour. Anyway, I'm gonna try and finish up. Actually, no, I'm not gonna try and finish up. I have galvanized wire to run on here for the trellis. So I'm doing 3 lines of galvanized wire on these T-posts. And then I'm just gonna weave the canes back and forth in between the 3 wires. And we'll see how it goes, but just wanted something low budget. I can't go another year without making a trellis for these things. Like, look, it's crazy. Running all the way around and around and around. I don't know where it starts and stops. I don't even know what's in here. Half of them aren't labeled, so hopefully they'll flower this year. And then I can kind of see, you know, what's 1st year, what's 2nd year, you know, what's disease, what needs to go out. But because I didn't have any, I think I had 1 berry last year because they were all pretty brand new. So I don't want to cut anything until I really know like what they're gonna do this year, because I know a lot of the berries produce berries on 2nd year canes. So just hanging tight with those. But eventually I would like to have them like trained and looking a little more formal. But yeah, I think this elderberry might need some propagation situation. That might be nice. But yeah, I'm excited for my 2nd year here. You can see everything that we got started, or I should say I got started. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the box below. Happy digging.